Hi, good night, everyone. God bless you. We I'm so thankful that you have joined us once again for Muddy Puddles. And we don't take this lightly. We know you have plenty of other things that you could be doing, including sleeping. So we're happy that you have joined us. So we're going to give you a few minutes to come on. Yes, we see a few people on already. Just going to give you a few minutes to come on. We ask you to share the live, share the live, share the live. Someone might very well be blessed by it. Honey?
Good
It's
night.
another Monday.
Yes, it is. It was a rough Monday. But we're so glad that we're here. You know, even as we wait for others to come on. You know, during the day I was thinking about how much the families of God are under attack.
Yeah.
So many different things. We have our experiences. You can share your own experiences. But we are committed to helping the people of God blossom.
Yes.
And helping the families while we do it. Because we
Yeah.
are in the process. So we're not talking to you as experts. We're talking to you
Or
as
that we have everything
yeah,
sorted out.
we're sharing with you as God leads us. And we're going to do what we can do to help arrest the attack on our families. And, you know, the enemy attacks us in so many different ways. And so Muddy Puddles is about us looking at those situations, taking those situations, and just using them for the glory and honor of God.
Yeah.
So as you come on, do your do. Share, like, start a watch party, call somebody and say we're on. And tonight we, again as usual, invite you to ask your questions, share your comments, those older couples especially.
Yes. With more
Say
experience than we
something,
have.
share with us, so we could encourage all of us who are on the live tonight.
Yes. More money, more problems.
Oh, no money, no problems. No money, more problems.
We're going to be talking about finances tonight. We're still allowing, say, not hearing.
Oh boy.
Let's see if we can sort this out.
Make sure your volume is up
Make
as
sure
well.
your volume is up. Yes.
But let us know as you go along. If we're
Can you hear?
hearing, we may have to raise our voices a little bit more.
Or there's something else that
But
is
we're going
wrong.
to try and make sure we work on that
Yeah.
as we go along.
Can you hear us now? If you can hear us, please
Just let
say.
us know,
Mhm.
and we could,
Make the adjustment.
yeah.
Make the adjustment.
All
Yes.
right, so.
Yeah, we still can give it another minute or so. Okay, Rennie, you can
Excellent.
hear. Yeah, so Onika, check your device or what have you.
And good night to all of those of you who are on already.
Yes.
See Renee, Pastor Adrian. I'm not seeing all the things as they come up. Karen, good night.
Yes.
I think we have to kind of raise our voice too, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
All right.
So yeah, and please, as we said, share with someone. We want as many persons to hear this, not for any glory, not for any personal agenda.
Yeah.
We want to minister to individuals and couples as they deal with their own marital journey
Yes.
and as they prepare for the journey itself. And so we are grateful. Good. So, what do you do when your marital situation is faced with financial issues, financial hurdles? How do you navigate those? How do you deal with those issues? So we're going to explore all of that tonight, and please ask your questions and give your comments. What we have said though is that financial or finance or financial issues have been the source of many relational and marital issues. Yes? And so just like you can have financial issues on an individual level, I can bet you that they will happen with couples too, with relationships, with marriages. And so that is something for us to always consider.
Yeah.
Yes? And Why money? What, baby? Why
Well,
your money is? Some people say your money. My money is, yes, volume is low. Some people say my money is my money, your money is your money. Yeah, but why financial issues so many times?
Well, let's just start with the fact of what money is. Money is not just the currency for negotiating items in terms of purchasing, but money is very much linked to our identity, and money is very much linked to who we are. Same thing as identity, but in a different sense. So when we talk about money, we're saying the money and the love of the money, or the value, the significance that we place on money, is very important to how we relate in our relationships. So the Bible talks about the issue: if money is your God, you can't serve God and mammon. You have to choose between the one of the two, and eventually that trickles down into your relationships. As a matter of fact, money is one of the main factors that determines the choice in a partner. I think I shared that about 2 or so times ago when we were started dating. And conversely, money is in the top 3 of reasons for marital breakdown.
Yeah,
now,
and even divorces.
And divorce. And that's a key thing, because many people may not actually have a divorce, but the marriage will break down.
Yes.
We used a term some time ago, empty marriages.
Right, and it mushrooms into other issues. So it starts like a financial issue, and then because there are issues relating to finances, then other issues
come up. But then there's the other side to that, where it not only starts with a financial issue, but because money is linked to your identity, money is linked to your quote-unquote status, is the other issues that funnel through money that create further issues, and then we see the problems coming out in the relationship.
Yep.
Now, we've seen this in many marriages. We have had to set boundaries very early in our marriage where money is concerned, because we understood, and I understood that, because I don't play around with money. I tell people that, and I'm not a money grubber, and he knows that, but I don't play with money. So we made that very clear from the beginning, how our money matters were going to go. And the good thing is that for us, money is not our main or our God.
That's right.
For us, we live like the Bible, where the money answereth all things. So we're not going to go around living broke. But money does not become the motivating factor for the decisions that we make in our life.
So it's not the money. It's the love of money.
It's the love of money.
It's your relationship with the money.
That's it. So let that sink in for a while. So ask yourself, in your relationship, you can even begin to ask your partner, but don't ask your partner before you ask yourself. What is your relationship with your money? What is your relationship with your money? Is money so significant that it takes priority over even building relationships, spending time, doing the work of God? Because your money is a tool for pleasure and for stewardship. Right?
And so it becomes an issue. Money, finances become an issue in marriage because you have a bad relationship with money. It also is linked to misguided. It also linked to feelings of competency, of power and control. Some people feel most confident,
when
most competent. Their esteem is higher, or is linked to money.
Yes.
And so let's say, for example, if you're somebody who you would say that money determines my worth or what have you. COVID hit. You lost your job.
Or you got that 50% cut that a lot of companies were giving.
Right, or whatever the cut is. Then that is going to throw you personally in turmoil, and may also throw the family and the marriage or relationship in turmoil. Yes? So if it's linked like that, then there will be an issue. Money, for some people, money is their identity. For some people, money is their status. And we say good night to everybody as they come on. So where there are constant arguments, one has to explore the root. Yes? So if you're having issues with the discussion related to finances, then you have to go to the root of the problem.
And the thing is, money can be such a painful wedge in a relationship. How? Because, like Nevin said, money often is linked to power and control. So persons often, by withholding or giving the money elsewhere. So, for instance, think about relationships that have infidelity. One of the first things that offended spouse, which is the spouse who is not being cheated on, who the offended spouse says, he not bringing any money in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say he, because it's normally the man. He doesn't bring any money anymore, or he brings less money because he has to carry the money to the other woman.
The Kippelman. In that we say
Kippelman, the horn woman you say in Trinidad and Tobago. Look at it. It's not just incidental. It's very strategic, because money is a big part of the weaving of a relationship. It's wealth. And that gives your marriage, your relationships, opportunities. Remember, the Bible says money answers all things. So it gives your marriage and your relationship opportunities. So we started out saying you find out what your relationship is with money. Be honest and open with yourself. We're going to get into some very strategic points, but we're just going through this in general now. And then you also have to begin to examine what is the teachings that you have had about money.
Right. So that's the next one, the financial baggage.
Yes. Last week we talked about your family of origin. Understand, I'm not sure why the volume is so low. Let's try and understand that the family that you come from has taught you, directly or indirectly, through good experiences or bad experiences, it has taught you a lot about money. We'll take the positive part. I'll take the negative part. Think about somebody who grew up poor. And remember, I always share this. Poor or poverty is not necessarily just a limitation in finances. It's a mentality. You're not able to see opportunities for wealth and growth, right? But you grew up in a family where you were poor. Many times these people don't have a proper understanding of money. They come into church, they come into Christ, and they still have that poor understanding of money, and then they try to make because they felt so insignificant when they were growing up, because they didn't have money to dress like the other children, to have the same lifestyles. They now come into their relationships thinking that they still have to prove something through their money. And here's what, it's not necessarily money that they show in their bank accounts, because most times they don't. It's the money that they show through the tangible things that they get. Right.
So when you say, I don't think you grew up rich.
No.
So you can.
I wasn't poor.
Right.
And I'll share that. Let me share this quickly, because my sister and I would laugh about this all the time. We remember things were hard, but I've never felt poor.
That's right.
And I think it's because our mother showed us the value of tapping into what you have inside and using that for wealth. Right. So even when we were struggling, I just always felt it's just for now. I never ever felt poor. Looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, we really had it hard. We weren't poor, but we had it hard.
So your life history, your experiences growing up, your family habits and traditions will also determine, sometimes have an influence in terms of financial, your view on finances and the use of money is what we call in financial baggage. What did you see growing up? And that feeds into your insecurity, right? The way you deal with money. Mommy used to hide the money
and tell you, don't tell daddy that I have this or I get this money.
Or you would hear discussions. So your mind, as you said, Natasha, your mind is your limit. And
that's true.
That's why the Word of God says, by the renewing of your mind. Because mindset is often the determinant in terms of how far you would go in the things that you do. And so there's what you call the financial baggage. And so what happens is that people have seen how their mommy dealt with money, or daddy dealt with money, or how mommy and daddy interacted relating to money, or how daddy used to argue with mommy why this You can't give me this. Why you just give me $200 for food when you know we have $100 and we do this and we do that? And so you were raised with that. You can hear that. That may have an impact. Doesn't mean it has to have an impact, but it may have an impact. Are you hearing us? We're seeing one or two declarations that you may not hear. You may not be hearing us. Is it loud enough? If you're not hearing, maybe turn up your device a little bit. But can somebody say, Cindy, can you hear us? Anybody else? Natasha, can you hear us? We can't see exactly who is on. But just tell us, can you hear us? So if that's the case, then we have to make a quick adjustment.
Yeah.
Yes? And so how did your family deal with debt? Yes? And so some people start their marriage. Thank you, Natasha. Some people start their marriages with debt.
Yeah.
Don't raise your hand now. Some people borrowed money, took loans to get married.
Now, let me stop there because there's nothing wrong. So we're not condemning anybody if you have to take a loan. But here's the problem. You took a loan for marriage or wedding, without a plan for payback.
Or some people don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So debt is supposed to be a tool. Debt is not supposed to be a lifetime sentence. But I was actually just thinking about back home in Antigua. I don't know what you call it here in Trinidad and Tobago, other parts of the world. You can let us know what you call it. But we have this thing called Mega Man in Antigua. And there's so many people who live their lives with the Mega Man. The Mega Men were the Syrians who walked around to your houses selling stuff, everything from clothes right down to water tank. And you could what we call trust. In Antigua we say trust, but it's basically it's a credit. So you trust
and you pay over time.
And you pay over time. And there are many people who every time they paid off something, rather than enjoying a period of financial freedom and maybe saving that money, they took something else. Okay, don't pay you off. Give me this now. And many times, if you check, it was not necessarily a need. I'm going to explain that the difference between a need and a want.
But let me piggyback on something else. But even before we go there, there's nothing wrong if you had to borrow some money so that you get married. But have you discussed it with your spouse? Do they know that you have done so? And what is your plan for dealing with it? Because what can happen is that you get a loan and next thing COVID hit. And you were depending on the job. Or financial crisis hit. Or you got pregnant early. Or something else comes up. It immediately gives your relationship a kind of pressure that you don't want to deal with. The other thing is financial literacy. The reason there might be problems that emerge is that there has not been enough reflection or education or exposure to financial management and literacy and so forth. Yeah?
So here's what you ask yourself in this situation. What were you taught, and I mentioned this before, what were you taught about money? Were you taught to go to work or get a job, get paid, buy what you want, and wait for the next paycheck? I'm going to tell you, there are many people, even in the body of Christ, who have the word of wealth, living like that, and the marriages are suffering because from paycheck to paycheck, they have to go through a lot of tension, because when money goes low in relationship, and especially when values are different, that's the thing we're going to come to, tensions raise. And that financial pressure puts pressure on the communication, it puts pressure on the romantic and intimacy building, it puts pressure even on the interactions with the children. So it's important, and even if you're trying to build a relationship, sometimes you're falling in and out, and that often causes wandering eyes, because if based on your relationship with money, you may see somebody else who has more money and think this person is more appealing. When we said that early, that money is a big determining factor in the person you choose to settle down in a relationship with.
And it should not be the most important, by the way.
Yes.
And that's part of the problem. Let me just touch this quickly. Some people get married because the man had money.
Yeah.
Oh my. No,
or
we're
the
not.
Or the woman.
Or the woman. And we're not saying it's a bad thing, We're just saying it's not what you should base a relationship on. Because what if the money is lost? What if there is a crisis? Then that means if your love, your devotion to the person was based on money, then your relationship would be in some issues. All right. So what is the role that money plays. Money, the word of God says, money answereth all things. I believe that. Yeah? Well, if not all. Most.
And you know, there's this saying, money can't buy you happiness, but it can surely buy a lot of things that can make you happy.
Yes.
So let's
so
be
don't
real.
be afraid. We don't have to be afraid of money.
Yes.
I wonder if slavery has taught and our legacy has taught us to be afraid of money. Yes. The question financial security, but you must be secure within yourself. That's right.
Excellent. That's the starting point. So that point Natasha just made there of the security, and that's why we said money most times not the issue. It's the mindset behind the money that is funneled through money. So if you're not secure within yourself, as a matter of fact, if you don't come to the place like Paul says, I know how to abound, I know how to be a base in all things, I know God will supply my needs, then your insecurity can push you into some really tricky and compromising situations.
Right. And we're gonna dig deeper a little later on that one. Just to say to you, master your money. Don't let it master you. Don't be a slave to the money.
Yes.
Let it serve you. Yes? We always remember that. Don't forget that.
Say that again, Matt.
Master the money.
Yes.
It answers a lot of things. Don't let it master you. Don't be a slave to the money. Don't let it determine your worth. Yes? Master it.
And
be
you be
in
a
control
good
of it.
steward
And
of
be
the
a good
money.
steward of it.
Yes.
The other thing is, why do we need money? Well, we need it to provide for our family and to make basic needs. If you have children, and if you're like Reverend Kevin Sentil or Mitch or those persons who are either married or hoping to get married, I'm telling you, if you didn't know you need money in a relationship, get children. That first child will wake you up.
Yes.
When they start doing all the natural body functions, the Pampers will run out in no time. The wipes will run out.
Yes.
They drink plenty. The formula, the lotions, the clothes. As soon as you turn, the clothes you bought for them. That we have a quick joke during this COVID period. Our children had
good spreads.
Yes, and they had plenty clothes. I mean, some of the clothes they have not been touched. And when gathering in the building resumed, when we gathered for church the first Sunday morning, we told our son, Ethan, go and put on your church shoe. He came out, Daddy, the shoe is not going on.
Amara was the same thing.
Same thing. So that means that meant therefore we had to find money.
Yes.
And we haven't replaced all of it yet. Yes. But God is a provider. Yes. And thank God we have managed our money fairly well. Yes? And so I just wanted to bring that in. We provide for our families with the money. You need money to be able to provide.
But can I add to that? Yeah. Even outside of a relationship or marriage, money is a fuel for your dreams.
Yes, we're going to go to so that's another one.
So you have to understand, yes, he's talking about marriage, but you don't have to feel left out because you're not married. Right.
If you're not married, there's single people watching this.
Maybe you are trying to study. Maybe you're trying to build a business. Maybe you're trying to get a vehicle or a house. These things
maybe you need some rest
money,
and relaxation.
And that's important. And we always encourage people, finance, budget for rest.
Oh, yes.
But whether you're single or married, money is a big, big tool towards dream accomplishment.
That's right. So that's another role for your money. The other role is that it gives you options, maybe tied into what you just said.
Yes.
It provides some options. It provides options for you. Yes. Provides independence. Yes. Some people have some particular gifts, like Natasha and others. Particular gifts and skills, like Stacy. Stacy can cook and Stacy can bake and create things.
That's money. That's money in your hands.
And when you have the money to be able to invest so you can establish your business, it gives you independence. Ask Billy. Billy wishes she did not have, and I wish to. Telling you the truth. She didn't. Sometimes I wish she didn't have the 8 to 4 job. Yes, I wish she had a little bit more independence, but we are thankful for the job that she has, and she's thankful. But if she had a little bit more independence, she'd be able to say, "Oh boy, I can't come in, I can't come at that time, can't do this and what have you. And it would have provided more opportunity for us and flexibility during this COVID period and pleasure. And we have decided, we have every month, we take a percentage, and we're going to talk about that later, of our money for travel.
Yeah.
We have what you call a travel account.
Yeah.
That is what that is for.
We don't make enough to just pick up and go one day.
That's right.
So we save every month towards a vacation annually.
So let me just say this quickly. We save for long-term projects.
Yes.
Like we have to build our house. We have been saving since we got married.
Yeah.
Well, I was saving before, and she too. But we come. So there's a percentage that we put to that. There's a percentage that there's a small amount we put to our children. All of them have accounts. Yes, and we put that every month. So when they're 18, we're not millionaires. We just say, Ethan, this is yours.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. You have some money there.
Let's bring it like a prodigal son
No,
before.
Trust me, you wouldn't get that. I'm not that father day, the prodigal son story. I'm sorry. You wouldn't get that money there at all. But what we did, one very wise pastor told us, don't determine what you put in each account that you have with the dollar figure. Use percentages.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's equity.
Equity. So that, in my case, I humbly submit. I knew any woman I got married to, more than likely, was going to make more money than I did. So, out of my small money, I won't tell you when we got married, you wouldn't even believe what it was. Thank God it has increased. So what happened is, we used to say 10% for our long-term savings, for our plans for the future. And we should be 5% for travel, 10% for this, 10% for that. And every month we do that. So that 10% of her money and 10% of my money, although it may be larger if she's making more, it was still equitable. Yes? The same percentage. So that's a little tip that you might want to use. Okay, the role. I think we have covered most. There are others, but we have covered security. We mentioned that already. So what are the problems that arise, Billy, as it relates to the money now?
All right. So one of the things, and I wanted to keep in mind, and please remember, you could share with us, send your questions, send your comments. One of the key things that arise in terms of the problems that come out of money in relationships is that issue of misuse. Now, again, I want you to understand, money in and of itself has no worth or has any weight. It's not a value. Let me say that again. It's not good or bad.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. So money is not good, money is not bad. So some people say, we don't want all that money there. As a matter of fact, I will share this quickly. Before I got married, I was still, before I got into, even because I had a business before I got married and everything. And I remember I had to go back to God. I had to pray and repent because I used to say, I don't want so much money because I can't count past a certain amount. And I was kind of, maybe without realizing it, my childhood, because we lived well with little bit. And I mean, we didn't have to get a dress up, but up to now I don't like, I'm not a name brand person. I don't feel I have to have on the newest trend. I'm not like that. Because we learned
so some
to
things
live
were taught to you
contentment.
that you didn't, yes. But,
right.
But,
so I indirectly, I learned I don't need a lot of money. But then my dreams got bigger and I realized I need money. But things kept happening. I remember having to go back to God and repent, renounce that saying that I don't need money. Because the point is, I need money. You know, the Bible is correct. Money answered all things. And so if you misuse money, understand that misuse is coming from a poor understanding, a misunderstanding of money.
Yes. Let me answer this question. Celia is asking, good night, Celia. Do you sow seeds for your children? Yes, so that account that we have for children, every month, a certain amount goes in every month, every child. And that money will not be seen by them until they're
or if
adults.
something happens before, like an emergency.
Right.
But I don't know if you're speaking about specifically sowing in terms of the spiritual sense, or you're talking about savings. But we do definitely do the savings.
Yes.
And I think for me, we sow for the family, not specifically for the children. But I believe in sowing. For my business, I sow because I believe God brings a yield with that. So again, we have the misuse.
So
and the
what are some of the ways you can misuse?
Yes.
Gambling, yeah.
Which many times is an addiction.
So the spouse loves to play away. Well, it's play away in Trinidad and Tobago is something else. Pick 2, pick 3, or you're talking about spiritually. Yes, that's important too. Sowing spiritually. So they play away, pick 3, blah blah blah, all kind of things.
Or go to the slot machines.
Go to the slot machines. And next thing, the family needs money for something, and the money has been used off in a particular way. Yeah?
There's also the issue of misuse, and I just want to add this for the gambling. Remember, because especially if you come to addictive stage, remember there's always that thing in the back of the mind of that person who is trapped with gambling, that if I just do this one more time, I'm gonna make back all that I'm putting in.
That's
but
the
what
trick
they're
of the
doing, and that's the trick of the enemy, they're throwing their money down the drain. The chances of them getting a big take home every time is very, very low.
Right. The other thing, when money is given too much importance. So some people, it's so important to them that they work 5 jobs.
Yeah.
And in doing the 5 jobs, you might lose your marriage.
Yep.
You could lose your children.
Yes.
When I was a teacher at the Austin Secondary School, my alma mater, best school in Antigua, there was a parent who came to me. She was really disturbed. The young man was a bright young man, but was given significant trouble. And when I got to talking to her, she shared with me, well, I don't see him when I go home, because when I go home, it's just to transition to my next job. I said, how often do you see him? And she said, well, a little in the morning. I see him a little in the morning. And so I was saying to her, why would you, I understand why you need the money, but understand you're risking losing your son if you can't find the time for him and the kind of nurturing that he needs. So some people, I know you have to work, and I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard. There's some people who are working 2-3 jobs because it's necessary, but just be careful that it does not become more important than actually being there for your spouse. Because while you make money, you could be losing your spouse in the process. The other thing is that the reason why it becomes an issue is that there's no transparency. There's no transparency. Yes? And so when you just go and do your own thing, when you just go and live out your or whatever desires you have, yes, and you never tell your wife. There are people who spend money on very big things and never tell their spouse.
Yeah.
When the spouse found out,
yeah,
was when the thing turned up.
And they were justified by, I thought this would be better for all of us.
Yeah,
but there's no communication.
You have to discuss it. I'm not talking about surprises, Let's say I have enough money I can buy my wife, praise God. I hope I can do that. Buy her car.
Praise God.
All right. A surprise like that. I hope you have the money. Make sure you have the plenty. But I'm talking about you just go and you just feel like, and you just go and spend, or there is a joint account and you just go and spend money. Now, we have a joint account. I'm telling you, I don't touch a cent without my wife knowing. That's our account. Now, that's different from your account. You have some flexibility in terms of how you will spend that money. But even then, transparency is a good thing. Yeah?
It's important.
It's important.
And it's a respectful thing.
Right. And when there's no transparency, yes, trust is affected. It can affect your relationship. Be transparent relating to money. Yes? The other thing is, there are problems that arise when you expect traditional gender roles. This is yes? The man is to provide.
Or the man is to manage the money.
Or the woman is to manage the money. Because there's some women who feel there's some relationships, the man make the money and put all in the woman's hand.
Yes.
Now, if that works for you, and we're not saying none of these things work, you have to decide what works for your relationship and for your family.
And it must be an agreed upon thing.
But don't assume that because that was what you saw growing up is what must obtain in your new marriage.
Yes.
So you saw daddy doing that. Next thing you get married and you feel this is the same way that we must do things. The man touch the money, the woman do other things. Yes?
But can I add to that
Yes.
also? This, again, I want to take you back to one of the first things we said, that money is linked to power and control.
Mhm.
And one of the first things, and I don't want us to think that this doesn't happen in the church, because there are many relationships in the church where abuse is happening. And I want to encourage you, we're not going off tangent, this is part of it. If you're experiencing abuse, reach out to somebody. And remember, the abuse will not necessarily start with a hit. It often starts with the emotional and the financial abuse. So you see, we're still on point. So because of the control and power thing that is linked to money, many times people are seeking to, because of the gender roles or what they're taught, the man may try to control the woman's movement, her progression. I have met and interacted with persons, and normally it's women who wanted to move forward in their lives, to better themselves through education or course training. And because the man controlled the money, he would say to them, you're not going to get the money. They would do different things to manipulate them, to prevent them from progressing in life. And that control of money, because money answers things. If you don't have the money to pay for the course, you can't do the course. But that money became the power tool that was used to keep the woman in line and keep her where the man wanted her to
remember
be.
traditional.
And that brings resentment, because
right.
the woman doesn't feel like she accomplishes her God-given talents, and then that brings resentment, and many times the relationship goes dead, and oftentimes as well, especially if the woman resists, physical abuse becomes an issue.
Yes. And the other thing is, you grew up in a time when daddy went to work and mommy stayed home.
Yes.
Oh my. And then you have decided that, and we're not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes Billy, I've heard her say it, although I think her makeup is different. But I've heard her say, for example, she was, she don't mind, she wouldn't mind staying home as a housewife.
And as a working housewife.
Yes, but there's some women who don't mind that, and they do it. But they then have to deal with a man who wants to control. Let's say, for example, she thinks she needs to do her nails. What you want to do a nail for? The nail of them look good. Or you're doing it here again? And so they want to, the woman wants to look good, the woman wants.
And I want to say, because I'm passionate about this, because I've seen it in many instances. I've had family members who have encountered this. I've had clients who have dealt with this. Sometimes it's not even that the woman chooses, but the man says, you can't work. Or even if the woman, forced upon her, even if the woman decides, I don't want to work, and the man agrees, yes, I will be the sole provider, then the provision becomes, well, we can't afford it. Now, it's okay if you can't afford it, but you don't have to allow that woman to feel less than. So I have seen women who have just gone down in terms of how they've taken care of themselves. They look less than, they look shabby when they go out, because they would say, the man is not giving me any money. I can't go out to work, especially when children come into play. Even more than can't go out to work, and the man is not making it his business to ensure that he provides the financial resources to ensure that his wife is, looking well, that she feels comfortable. One of the things that helps with self-esteem is how you look. It affects how you feel. And so it's important that men understand, and even women, if it's a reverse situation, because there are some, I've heard one or two, we've interacted with one or two. If it's a reverse situation, understand that there must be some balance. Even if by choice or by force, one partner was not allowed to work. And listen, so you don't have
and there has to be understanding.
There has to be an understanding.
So don't just throw off the person's complaint or protest. You have to come to that bit. Remember, they have decided to do the hardest job in the world, which is to be a stay-at-home spouse, as it is. And so you have to come with the recognition that this is an absolutely hard job and a critical one for your family. And so treat your wife, if it's the wife, or your husband. Make sure they feel appreciated. Give them the chance to feel good and be pampered and so forth. Yes? And no, sometimes maybe life is hard and they're struggling financially. So the wife has to consider that too. Yes? But just understand that, see it from that person's perspective. The
Can
other
I-
thing, gender roles, when I say traditional roles, the man normally, when you were growing up, was making more money than the woman, because most women weren't working at one point.
Yeah.
My ego is strong enough
Praise God.
that I can manage a woman who makes more money than me.
I would love you to make more than me, though.
And I tell you what, there have been occasions where, for example, her contract wasn't renewed on time, or she might be just having a bad month financially, when I have to be the one to provide. And I can tell you, it feels good.
And listen, and we're laughing saying because we are comfortable with this. But let me tell you, I remember one of the first, it used to affect me because I have always believed in having my own money. My mother taught me that you don't beg people for nothing. But one of the first times that happened, where I think they weren't paying me, I hadn't gotten paid for 3 months, and when I don't get paid, I will ask so much because I'm like, you know what, I don't have no money, I ain't buying it. But I saw a change in this man's face and disposition. I'm like, okay, so clearly the ability to have money and to say I have more than you.
No, I have more than you.
Wait. I'm not saying it in a bad way. For the man to feel that he's providing,
That's it.
it's such an important factor. So I changed my attitude then. So at first I used to laugh about it, I used to make it a joke, but I'm like, maybe it's not so funny for him all the time, because I saw a whole change in his facial and the way we interacted when he was able to say, here, let me give you some money.
Right.
You know?
But not only that, I felt good that I was able to bless my wife and do a little bit more. Yes? And so my wife, who knows these things well, knows that men are made up in particular ways.
Yeah.
God made us with the instinct to protect those we love and to provide. There's something in us. I'm not saying women don't have that too. I'm saying there's something about a man knowing and feeling, I want to provide for my family. Yes? So that's what she saw. It wasn't
When
even...
I saw it,
Yeah.
it was like an epiphany. A light went off in my head like, oh. And I remember we shared this last week, if you've seen last week's program. I didn't grow up past age 8, 10 with a man. So for those things don't bother me. We have never had to depend on a man for anything. My mother never had a boyfriend. I wish she had one now, but you know, every time I tell her that, she says I'm rude. But you know, I'm being loving to my mother. But we never saw that. So I'm the last child. My mother worked, she provided. When my sister came of age and got a job, it was my mother and my sister who provided. I really got gifts from men in terms of, when I say men, like male figures around. As a matter of fact, most of the time we got anything was from female figures. So that thing never impacted me. When I saw that, and that is so important to understand, recognize what's happening in the relationship and the interaction and what the money means to the man, what the money means to the woman. Because again, money in and of itself is not good or bad. It is the spirit behind the money, and that comes from your own interpretation and value.
And I lean towards, by the way, I lean towards money being good. I think it's the use of it. It is the love of it. I think the money is good. Yes, money answers all things. Master the money. Yes, so I lean towards that being a good thing. Yes. And
let me just add one thing quickly. And I want you to remember, especially if you have children, your children are seeing you. Just like you saw your parents and you learned something about money, or most of the things you know about money through your interactions, unless you decide to learn something on your own as you got older. Your children are learning from you. They see the arguments you have. If you're having arguments consistently about money, you're seeing how when money problem, one mommy sleep one bedroom, daddy sleep by me. These are things that they're seeing, and they're realizing, well, if I don't have plenty of money, or if I don't have somebody with money, so they're young.
I have to hold on to my money.
I have to hold on to my money. So they're learning by modeling the same things, the same way as well. You learn through your parents.
One last thing in terms of the problems. You would have done all of those things well.
Yes.
You have mastered it. Nobody plans for a crisis. So you have done all the things. You're transparent. You are responsible, you use the money well, all those good things. COVID hits, changes the equation. Illness hits. A recession hits. Death hits.
Death of the breadwinner. And
The
this is
breadwinner.
something we're seeing a lot because
Yes.
there's so much death.
So, but your business hits a
Collapses,
rough
yeah.
patch. Sometimes the problems that you have with finances weren't caused by you.
Yeah.
They're just caused by the
Environment.
unexpected events of life. And I'm telling you, if you have never met up with those in marriage yet, or any relationship,
Relationships, yeah.
you're going to meet up on an unexpected event. Yes, like COVID, like a recession, or whatever the case may be.
Job loss.
And so, unfortunately, you didn't do anything, but how do you manage it?
Yes.
How do you manage? And we're going to talk about how, hopefully, we can help somebody. You may be able to help somebody after listening to us. How do we get better in many of these areas? Yes?
And just to remind you that you could send your questions or
give your
make your
comments.
comments. Thank you for those who have done so
Good night, Sister Esther.
already. Hi, Sister Esther. Listen, I want to put this in now. I want just to remember that it's very important to differentiate. And that's what we're talking about, how you're going to manage.
Yeah.
To differentiate between a need and a want. So sometimes we say, oh God, I have to have this. I need this. And it really isn't a need. It's not necessity. So when we talk about a need, we're talking about something that is essential for survival or your stewardship. Alcohol.
Like alcohol is
no,
true.
that is not a need.
That's not a need.
Well, actually, if you're an alcoholic,
That's
it becomes
yeah.
a need in a way
Yeah.
because your body has been reprogrammed to need the alcoholic.
Yeah. But yeah, what you're saying is a good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you must understand and differentiate. Do I have a need or is this a want? What is a want? A want now is something that you will genuinely enjoy. So as a matter of fact, you may feel like you can't live without it because it's going to bring so much pleasure and enjoyment for you. That's a want. It's not, you're not going to die if you don't have it, but it's really going to improve your happiness, your happiness meter. That's a want. But then you also want to bring on that this whole issue of consumerism. That's what we talk about, mismanagement. We have people who in marriages who cannot differentiate between need and want. But then we have people in relationships and marriages who are just in the consumerism spirit. So all they do is they go, they see something, or they hear their friend have something, and they want it. They buy it. And that then becomes one of the main ways that we misuse money. And when crisis happens, if you're a person who lived with a consumeristic spirit, or if you're a person who lived basically fulfilling all your wants and not really supplying the needs, then when crisis hits, you won't have the skills proper
or
to
when
manage
additional responsibilities like children.
But I want to add this quickly. One principle that is there, and we have learned, I hope you have learned this. If not, we're going to share this with you now. Tithe. That's the first thing. If you're a child of God, you should be tithing.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I often tell people, because I would do that with some of my clients, what you tithe, you save. You tithe 10%, you save 10%. And then you can decide how you're going to use the other monies, right?
And you can even save more if you wish.
As you go along. But understand that your increase in salary doesn't necessarily mean, or income doesn't necessarily mean you have to increase your cost of living.
You have to be careful about that.
So what happens is when they say they're going to give us an increase. When you get the increase, all you want to do is add more things to your money plate.
Netflix,
you have bigger debt because you say, I have a bigger salary, so I can have bigger debt. Think about Antigua when Stanford hit. There are people whose standard of living just went up. And much of it was unnecessary, but because they had the means, they didn't envision that Stanford was going to collapse. And I remember the outcry was so great. They kept saying, I have all this loan. Even if your money increases, in your relationship as an individual, you are still a steward of your money. Understand that you must always sit down and differentiate want, need, and consumerism. And it doesn't mean, last thing, that you don't fulfill your wants, but your needs must not be put aside to just live a life of enjoyment. You can't not pay a rent and buy clothes. All right? You can't not pay a child's school fee so you can line with the boys. These are the things that happen, and we're not making things up. The things we experience, and then you come. Let me just get this off my spirit, Nevin, because then my father always shares this. But then many times we are praying for people for financial breakthrough. And the issue is not so much any demon or anything. It is their mismanagement and their poor understanding of money and wealth.
Yeah.
All right?
And not applying the different principles relating to it. It's okay. So what do we do then? You found yourself in a situation where money is becoming an issue for the marriage.
Yes.
What do? We're suggesting a few things. You have to have continuous, open, honest discussion.
Yes.
You have to have it. If you don't, you're going to continue to have issues if you don't continuously discuss the issues, and that allows for transparency, that allows for openness, yes, and that ensures that there is no misunderstanding relating to the use of the money. Yes. The other thing is that make sure there's agreement. Agree on how you manage the money. Even in the crisis. Agree how you will manage the accounts. As I told you, we have a long-term savings account. We have a travel account, yes, every month. We have our accounts for our children, yes. We have our own individual accounts, yes, that we're free to do what we wish with wisdom, yes. So when my wife buys hair, it's not something I would buy, but she needs to buy the hair so she can continue to look as beautiful as she looks now. Yes, and without the hair, she will still look beautiful.
Thank you.
But she does that because she wants to enjoy, some of what she has earned. Yes, so I can't tell her that. Don't buy this. No, if it is our joint account money, then she should have a discussion with me.
Yes.
Yes. She should have a discussion with me. Yes. As long as so there has to be openness, there has to be an agreement on what must be done. Then practice good financial, have some good financial practices, habits. Yes. Budgeting. Oh boy. How many of you, raise your hand, have you budgeted? Do you do a weekly budget for your family? Or monthly? Yes? Or even yearly? Have you budgeted? Yes? When we started out 8 years ago in our marriage, we were budgeted every week, but I don't know.
Well, I got it down to a science. Now it's in my head.
Yes, this is true. We kind of play it by the ear, but I think it's something.
Because we've created a habit of putting how we deal with our money.
So you have to understand the finances. What about the management? Yes?
Yes.
Debt management.
Yeah.
Don't go and run into getting loans for this. By the way, I don't believe in, I don't like revelry and carnival and so forth, but I see people getting loans to buy costumes. I say, come on, man. Yeah. Come on. I mean, I'm partial because I don't think it's a good thing. Yes? But you're doing that for something so temporary, something that you don't really need to have. Yeah. Yes? Yes?
Can I add this one as well in terms of the money? It's important. I've experienced this with many persons I've interacted with. When financial crisis hits, rather than working together as a couple, they run to mommy. He spent off all the money. Or they run to the big sister. She spent off all the money. They bring a third party into the issue that can create bigger problems. So we're saying to you, yes,
when you have agreed as a couple
that you're going to work it. How are you going to do it?
Right. Please don't allow people to interfere with that.
Yes. There comes a point where you may need to have a third party. You need to get reinforcement or backup. But it's not the first thing. And sometimes it's not just when things happen. Every time something happens, they call mommy, they call the sister, they call the friend, they call the auntie and tell them they spend off the money. They do this. What to do? Tell him, call him and tell her. And that actually hits at other key pillars in the relationship, like trust. Yeah.
And when we spoke about trust, you can go back on my Facebook page and Billy's Facebook page when we talk about trust. Please don't go back to your loved ones.
Yes.
with issues relating to your marriage. I know some of the grandparents and parents who are listening to me some people may not agree, but mommy and daddy may not be able to handle it. Because when they have heard some things about your spouse, that relationship may never be repaired.
But I just want to acknowledge what Celia said about sewing, and I appreciate that. We do it in different ways. So we have other things that we sew into. One of it is two of my ministry and business, but that is definitely something that you could do. So spiritually for your children, because your money, the Bible says, cast your bread on the waters, and not many days it will come back. And money is one of the things that you can consider bread that you could cast and set the return.
So when you talk about good financial habits, oh boy, credit card, be careful, be careful. Oh my, credit. It's so tempting, it's so convenient, but the financial people, they told you their secret. It's one of the most profitable things for banks. Credit cards, the highest interest rates are paid on that. So just please be careful.
And it's dead money.
And it's dead money.
It's dead money.
So just be careful. But you know what you need to do. Discuss it. Then put money in its proper place. Detach it from your identity. Yes. Put money in its right place.
And also detach it from the quality of your relationship. So this man doesn't love you any less because he can't buy you what a girlfriend got from her husband, or vice versa. Your money is your tool. Your money is to be used by you to accomplish the will of God, to accomplish purpose. It's supposed to be used for your stewardship. It is not your identity. It is not a determination of the value of your relationship. As a matter of fact, back in the days, and we know many of us have experienced that, we had parents who had very little money but so much love. And the children grew to have much money and not very little love. So we have to be careful that we do not misplace money or put money in a wrong place and put it above God and the real values that build relationships.
And then, look here, you just have to be responsible with your finances.
Yes, that's about 3 minutes.
You just have to be responsible. We think if you follow some of these things, the constant, open, honest discussion on money matters, transparency, agreement, how you manage it, how we spending every month, how we going to do this or do that, and then get into practice some good financial habits, budgeting, investment, because we also believe in investment, debt management, how you're managing your debt, and then sometimes you may need some advice relating to that. And then, as Billy said, put money in its right place, detach it from your identity, exercise financial responsibility. Your family needs you to be responsible. Yes, and
so even can we just have about 2 more minutes? I hope that you guys receive something. You're blessed. As usual, you can always message us after, call us if you have our contact. But it's important that you keep, and we've been saying it because there's a reason, keep God at the center of your life and your marriage, not your money. Don't let your life revolve around your money. Allow it to revolve around God. There's a song that says Jesus at the center of it all. Let Jesus be the center of it all, not your money. And the other thing is, keep your money in its rightful place and take away the stress from money or the lack thereof, and allow instead in its place to thrive the trust and the comfort and the love of the relationship. Because every marriage, every relationship will face a financial hurdle.
At one point or the other.
It is the value that you have on money and the place that you have it in that relationship that will determine how you get through it and how you move forward, even to a place of wealth. I believe in the Zig Ziglar's approach to wealth, where it's not just money, but wealth is wealth, health, and relationships. And if I have to sacrifice my relationship for an extra $1, for me, that's not worth it. That's not worth it. Right? And if I have to sacrifice my health for an extra $1, working 4, 5, 7, 8 jobs, for me, that's not worth it. The Bible says, Paul, I'm saying this again as we end, Paul says, I learned how to abound and I learned how to abase, but I've learned in all things, or God will supply, or he said it another way, but God will supply all of my needs and all of our needs according to his riches in glory. We don't have to strive and quarrel. We can trust God and allow him to show us how to put our money in the right places.
We hope what we have said tonight has been helpful.
Yes.
Money is good.
Yes.
Master it. Yes? It is meant to be mastered.
Yes.
Don't become a slave to money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it master you.
Yeah.
Master it. Yes? And just understand and remember, those who are newly married, those who are experiencing struggles, finances, financial issues, that has caused many marriages.
Yes. Remember, it's number 3. It's
Number
between
3.
number 2 and 3
Yeah.
in the top reasons for marital breakdown.
Yeah. I don't even think infidelity.
Infidelity goes around it. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
1 or 2,
Yeah.
based on the studies that are shown.
Yeah.
But many
But
times.
there are other things you think would be more important.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we want to thank you for joining us for Muddy Puddles.
Yes.
We don't take it lightly that you have spent this time with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's late in the night. It is precious if you have children, but
Young
even if you don't
children,
have young children, and even if you don't have this time and space and quietness, people cherish it. So we understand that it is really a privilege to have you share with us.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Though more money does not mean more problems. Master your money,
Yes.
but also take in consideration those things we have shared with you. Share this live, like it, share it with somebody who may it may be good for.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless you.
Yes.
Have a wonderful night.